Commander stood on the observation deck of the Coalition warship, watching another world die. The planet below glowed orange and red as the swarm consumed everything. Cities, forests, oceans, all of it fed the endless hunger of the hive. This was the 12th world in 3 months. Scaled hands gripped the railing. His people had fought in 1,000 wars across 500 years. They were born warriors. Their bodies were covered in armor like scales. Their reflexes were 3 times faster than most species. Fear was a word in their language, but not a feeling they understood. When I went to battle, his mind calculated, analyzed, executed. There was no room for emotion. That was why they always won. Until now. Commander, the voice belonged to High General In, a fellow with scars covering half his face. The Council has made a decision. Turned retreat. No alliance. In pulled up a holographic display. Earth has offered military support. Earth searched his memory. The new contact world, the humans. Yes, they have been observing the war. They want to help. Studied the data. Humans were small, soft-skinned. No natural weapons, no armor. Their reaction times were slow. Their strength was average. Every physical measurement suggested they would break in the first real battle. This is what we've come to, said, asking children to fight our wars. We have no choice. We need every soldier we can get. In's eyes were hard. You will lead a joint operation with their military unit. Tomorrow you meet them at Outpost. The swarm is moving toward the bridge. If it falls, 3 more systems are exposed. Nodded slowly. I will make sure they stay out of the way. Do more than that, In said. Keep them alive. The Council believes humanity might be important to this war. I don't know why, but those are our orders. The next day arrived at Outpost. The military base sat on a rocky moon, gray and cold. The bridge stretched across a massive canyon nearby. It was the only way swarm ground forces could cross to reach the main facilities. Hold the bridge, hold the system. Walked into the briefing room. 50 soldiers stood at attention. Perfect, silent, ready. On the other side of the room stood the humans. They were talking, laughing. One of them was eating something from a small package. Another was showing pictures on a handheld device. None of them stood at attention. They looked more like a social gathering than a military unit. His mouth tightened. This was worse than he thought. A human stepped forward. He was tall for his species, with dark hair and a scar on his chin. His uniform said Captain. Commander said, extending his hand. It's an honor to fight alongside the. Looked at the hand. This was a human greeting, he remembered. He took it briefly. The human's grip was firm, but his skin felt fragile, like paper. Captain said, Your soldiers appear unprepared. Glanced back at his unit and smiled. They're ready. They just handle stress differently than you might expect. A female human approached. She was smaller with sharp eyes and short hair. Lieutenant, she said, I command 2nd Squad. Nodded. I've reviewed the tactical situation. The swarm will attack the bridge within 12 hours. We have 300 soldiers. Intelligence suggests they will send at least 3,000 warriors. The room went quiet. Even the humans stopped talking. 10-to-1 odds, said slowly. That's not good. It's a suicide mission, said one of the officers. No, corrected. It's a holding mission. We hold for 6 hours. Reinforcements arrive. We evacuate. Simple. Looked at. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe, or acceptance. My people can hold the south side of the bridge, said. We'll need heavy weapons. You'll get them, replied. He pulled up the tactical map. Forces take the north. We are better suited for direct combat. Humans provide support fire from elevated positions. Support fire, a human soldier spoke up. He had sergeant stripes. His name tag said Jin. With respect, Commander, we didn't come here to hide on a hill. Studied him. You came here to fight an enemy that has destroyed 12 worlds. An enemy that does not fear death because it does not understand death. They are connected by one mind, one purpose. They will never stop, never retreat, never surrender. Sounds familiar, Jin said quietly. What? Nothing, sir. The briefing continued for another hour. Assigned positions, distributed weapons, went over communication protocols. They absorbed everything instantly. Perfect memory, perfect understanding. The humans took notes. After the briefing, found standing on the observation platform looking at the bridge. The canyon below was dark, empty. Soon it would be filled with death. Lieutenant said, "May I ask you a question?" Of course. Your soldiers were laughing earlier, before a battle where many of them will likely die. Why? Was quiet for a moment. She watched the stars above the canyon. Because we're scared. Blinked, I don't understand. I know, she said. Your people don't feel fear, right? That's what the reports say. Correct, fear is inefficient. It clouds judgment, creates mistakes. Turn to look at him. For us, it's different. We feel fear. We feel it deep in our bones. Every human in that room knows they might die tomorrow. They've thought about it, imagined it, every horrible detail. Then why laugh? Because that's what makes us dangerous, said. Her eyes were hard, calm. We know we're scared, we know we might die, and we're going to fight anyway, not because we don't understand the danger, but because we do. Stared at her, her words made no logical sense. Fear was weakness. Fear made soldiers hesitate, break, run. But something in her voice made him uncertain. You should rest, he finally said. Tomorrow will be difficult. Tomorrow will be hell, corrected. But yes, we'll rest. She walked away, leaving alone with his thoughts. That night he couldn't enter meditation like usual. His mind kept returning to what's said. He had studied hundreds of species, fought beside dozens, but humans confused him. They were weak, fragile, emotional. But they volunteered for this mission, every single one. And they were laughing. Looked out at the darkness beyond the base. Somewhere out there, the swarm was coming, a wave of death that couldn't be stopped. Tomorrow he would see if humans were brave or just foolish. He suspected he already knew the answer. But deep in his chest, in a place he didn't know existed, something stirred, something uncomfortable. If he had to name it, he might call it concern. For the first time in his life, Commander wondered if he truly understood what courage meant. The swarm came at dawn. Saw them first on the long-range sensors, a black mass moving across the dead plains, thousands of bodies, thousands of claws, all connected to one mind, one hunger. All units combat positions, he ordered. They moved like machines. Every soldier knew their place. Every weapon was ready. They took their positions on the north side of the bridge without a word. Perfect. Efficient. On the south side, the humans were different. Watched through his tactical display. Private was checking her rifle for the 5th time. Her hands shook. Sergeant Jin was talking quietly to his squad and his voice was tight. Captain stood at the front, but even from this distance could see the tension in his shoulders. They were terrified. Commander, his second officer said, the humans appear unstable. Should we request they fall back? Started to agree, but then he remembered words. We know we're scared, we're going to fight anyway. No, said, they hold their position. The swarm reached the canyon. Without slowing, they began to descend. Thousands of insect-like bodies with razor claws and armored shells. They climbed down the walls like water flowing. The sound of their movement was like thunder. Range in 30 seconds, his voice crackled over the comm. All units ready. Raised his plasma rifle. Around him, they did the same. No fear, no hesitation, just calculation. The enemy would reach the bridge, they would fire. The enemy would die. Simple mathematics. 20 seconds. The swarm warriors hit the canyon floor and surged forward. The bridge shook as hundreds of them climbed up from below. 10 seconds. Aimed, his heart rate stayed steady at 40 beats per minute. Perfect combat efficiency. Fire. The bridge exploded with light and sound. Plasma bolts tore through the swarm's front line. Bodies fell, burned, but more kept coming, always more. The fired in perfect rhythm. Aim, shoot, no wasted movement, no panic. But on the south side, the humans were different. Could hear them through the comm. They were screaming, cursing. Private was crying as she fired her weapon, but she didn't stop. She kept pulling the trigger even though tears ran down her face. Sergeant Jin was yelling orders, his voice breaking with stress. Keep firing, don't let them through, don't let them. His words cut off as a swarm warrior reached his position. Watched in shock. The warrior's claw took Jin's leg off at the knee. The sergeant fell. Blood sprayed across the ground. Any soldier would retreat, call for medical, escape. Jin grabbed his rifle with both hands and kept shooting. He was screaming in pain. His body was shaking, but he held his position. Even when another warrior came at him, Jin didn't move. He fired until the barrel of his rifle glowed red. Medical to South Side Position 7's voice was sharp. Cover him. Private ran, not away from the battle, toward it. Couldn't process what he was seeing. She was running directly into enemy fire. Her face was twisted in terror. She was screaming, but she reached Jin, grabbed him by his armor and started dragging him back. A swarm warrior landed next to her. Its claw came down. Shot at point blank without letting go of Jin. I got you, she screamed. I got you. She pulled Jin behind cover while 3 more warriors chased her. She was sobbing, shaking, but she got him to safety. Tactical display showed the human heart rates. Every single one was elevated, over 100 beats per minute, some over 150. They were experiencing massive stress, fight or flight response at maximum. But none of them ran. The battle continued. An hour, 2 hours, the swarm kept coming. They fired with mechanical precision. Their line held because they felt nothing. No pain, no fear, just duty. The human line held too, but was beginning to understand why. Lieutenant was coordinating fire from an elevated position. Her voice stayed calm on the comm, but her hands shook every time she pulled the trigger. She was professional, controlled, but could see the sweat on her face, the tension in her jaw. She was choosing to be calm, fighting against every instinct that told her to run. North side, we need covering fire, shouted. They're flanking us. Redirected 3 squads. They laid down suppressing fire. The swarm warriors died in waves. But more kept coming. We can't hold much longer, one of the human soldiers called out. There's too many. Yes, we can, shouted back. We just need 30 more minutes. Reinforcements are coming. We're not going to last 30 minutes. Then we last 31. Moved to the front line. He took up position next to a young human soldier who looked ready to break. The kid's rifle was shaking so bad he could barely aim. Look at me, said. His voice was firm, kind. Look at me, what's your name? T, sir. You're doing great. I need you to keep firing. Can you do that? I'm so scared, sir. I know, me too. But we're going to be scared together and we're going to keep fighting. Understand? Nodded, tears on his face. Yes, sir. They fought side by side, both terrified, both staying. That was when understood. They held the line because they couldn't imagine failing. Fear didn't exist to stop them. They were perfect soldiers. But the humans held the line despite being able to imagine failing. They knew exactly how badly this could go. They felt every moment of terror, and they fought anyway. That wasn't the absence of fear. That was courage. Commander, his tactical officer shouted. The bridge supports are damaged. The swarm is trying to collapse it. Saw the explosives the swarm warriors were placing on the support columns. If the bridge fell, The swarm could cross through the canyon in minutes. They'd lose everything. All units focus fire on those charges, ordered. But the charges were already armed. Plasma fire wouldn't stop them now. I can detonate them manually, said over the comm. If I reverse the sequence, they'll explode upward instead of down. Bridge stays intact. You'll be at ground level, said. You'll never make it back up. I know. His voice cut in. Captain, no. It's the only way, said. His voice was steady now. Calm. Make sure the reinforcements know we held the line. Before anyone could stop him, rappelled down to the bridge supports. Watched through his display as the human captain ran from charge to charge, reprogramming them. His hands moved fast, professional. But they were shaking. The swarm saw him. A dozen warriors changed course, heading straight for him. Cover the captain, screamed. Every human soldier fired at once. Finished the last charge. He looked up at his soldiers. He smiled. Then he triggered the sequence. The explosion was massive. It threw swarm warriors into the air, but the bridge held. When the smoke cleared, was hanging from a broken cable 50 meters down. His armor was cracked. His arm was clearly broken. I'm okay, his voice came through weak. I'm okay. Hold on, was already moving. We're coming for you. Started climbing, one-handed, bleeding. The cable cut into his hands. He climbed for 10 minutes, 15. The whole time his squad gave him covering fire. When he finally pulled himself over the edge, he collapsed, but he was smiling. Bridge held, he gasped. That was when the reinforcements arrived. The swarm pulled back. The battle was over. Walked to where the humans gathered. They were checking wounds, helping each other. Half of them were crying, the other half looked empty, shocked. 70% casualties, but they never broke. Stood among them, her face blank with exhaustion. She saw approaching. Now do you understand? She asked quietly. Looked at Jin being carried away on a stretcher, still trying to joke with the medics. At sitting with her head in her hands, shaking. At being treated for his injuries, still giving orders. Yes, said, I think I'm beginning to. For the first time in 300 years of life, Commander felt something cold in his chest. Not fear, exactly. Respect. And the uncomfortable realization that he had been very wrong about what made a soldier. 2 weeks after Bridge, couldn't stop thinking about the humans. He watched them during training. They moved slower than soldiers. Their reaction times were average. They got tired. They got frustrated. By every physical measurement, they should be the weakest soldiers in the coalition. But they had held the line. Accessed the human combat records. He read through after-action reports from other battles. Watched footage from their wars on Earth. He was searching for something. An explanation. A pattern. What he found confused him more. Humans didn't have natural armor. Their skin tore easily. They had no claws, no venom, no enhanced senses. Earth had hundreds of predators stronger than them, faster than them, better equipped for hunting. But humans were the dominant species. Hell. Commander, a voice interrupted his research. Medical officer stood in the doorway. He was human, young, with kind eyes and the calm manner of someone used to working with suffering. Do you have a moment? Come in, officer. Sat down. He looked tired. I wanted to thank you for covering our position during the battle. Sergeant Jin says you redirected fire patterns to keep our field hospital protected. It was tactically sound, said. Losing medical support would have been inefficient. Still, thank you, paused. You've been reading about humans. Gestured at his display screens. I'm trying to understand your species. You fought well at Bridge, but the data doesn't explain how. What confuses you? Everything. Pulled up an image of an Earth predator. This creature, a wolf, it's stronger than a human, faster, natural weapons. Your ancestors should have been prey. Smiled. You know what humans did with wolves. Avoided them, I assume. We made them our friends. We domesticated them. Now we call them dogs and they live in our homes, sleep on our beds, play with our children. Stared, that's illogical. That's humanity, leaned forward. My species is strange, Commander. We're persistence predators. Do you know what that means? No. On Earth, most predators hunt with speed or strength. They chase prey and take it down fast. But humans, we chased our prey until it died of exhaustion. We weren't faster, we weren't stronger, but we never stopped. A human can run for days. We chased animals until their hearts gave out, until they were too tired to run anymore. Stood and walked to the window. We looked at every creature that tried to eat us and decided to eat it instead. We turned wolves into pets. We climbed to the top of the food chain with no natural weapons except one thing. What? We don't quit, ever. That's our weapon, Commander. We just keep going. Absorbed this. It explained some things, but not everything. At the bridge, your soldiers were terrified. Their stress levels were dangerous. Some were crying. How is that an advantage? Because we know what we're risking, said softly. A soldier fights without fear. That's impressive. But a human soldier fights while feeling everything, every moment of terror, every possibility of death. We know exactly what we're sacrificing, and we do it anyway. Before could respond, alarms blared across the station. They rushed to the command center. General In was already there, his face grim. Intelligence just came in. The swarm took the Tertian system 3 hours ago. Tertian, checked the star charts. That's a civilian colony. Was a civilian colony. The swarm is executing prisoners, broadcasting it across all frequencies. They're making an example. The command center went silent, cold. How many? Someone asked. So far, 200 coalition prisoners, soldiers and civilians. They're still going. Felt something tighten in his chest. They had honor codes about prisoners. This was beyond war. This was cruelty. Assemble strike teams, In ordered. We'll plan a rescue. It's too late for rescue. Tactical officer or pulled up the images. They were horrific. This is a message. They want us to know what happens when we resist. The door opened. Captain entered, followed by Lieutenant and a dozen other human soldiers. They must have heard the alarm. What's the situation? Asked. In explained. As he spoke, watched the humans' faces. They went very still, very quiet. It wasn't the quietness of shock. It was something else, something that made scales prickle. Show me the footage, said. Captain, I don't think. Show me. In played the broadcast, had seen war, he had seen death, but this was systematic execution. The swarm was killing prisoners one by one, slowly. The humans watched in complete silence. When the footage ended, spoke. Her voice was very soft, very calm. They shouldn't have done that. Something in her tone made every in the room look at her. Lieutenant, In asked. They shouldn't have done that, repeated. Her eyes were cold, empty. They really, really shouldn't have done that. Turned to the tactical display. How far is Tertian? 2 days at maximum speed. But Captain, the system is occupied. Intelligence shows 50,000 swarm warriors entrenched. It would take months to plan an assault. We don't have months. Those are our people. Captain, In said carefully. I understand your anger, but a rescue mission is impossible. The casualties would be. We're not asking permission, General. Looked at his soldiers. Who's coming? Every human hand went up. Instantly, no hesitation. Corporal Sara stepped forward. She was small, quiet, rarely spoke during briefings, but her voice now was hard as steel. They touched our people. That was a mistake. Private nodded. We're going. This is suicide, or protested. 50,000 warriors, you'll all die. Maybe, said. She was still recovering from injuries at bridge. Her arm was in a sling. But we're going anyway. Watched this exchange with growing unease. The humans weren't angry in the way he understood anger. There was no shouting, no visible rage. They were calm, organized, determined. That was somehow worse. "I will join you," heard himself say. Everyone turned to look at him. Commander In was surprised. Didn't understand his own decision. Logic said this was foolish. The mission was impossible. The casualties would be massive. But something about the way the humans stood there, ready to die for people they'd never met, made him want to be part of it. "I fought beside them at bridge," said. "They earned my respect. If they're going, so am I." More soldiers stepped forward, then soldiers from other species. Within minutes, a full strike force was assembling. In looked at them all, then he sighed. "This is against my better judgment, but I won't stop you. However," he fixed his eyes on, "this isn't a rescue mission anymore. The prisoners are dead. This is revenge." "No," said quietly, "this is a message." "What message?" "That there are some lines you don't cross, and if you do," the expression was hard, cold, "we'll make sure you never cross another one." Walked to the tactical display. She studied the Tertian system layout. Her fingers moved across the controls, planning approach vectors, attack patterns, extraction routes. Had seen battle planning before. This was different, wasn't planning a rescue, she was planning an extermination. "Lieutenant," he said quietly, moving beside her, "are you certain about this?" She didn't look at him. They broadcast the executions. They wanted us to see, wanted us to feel helpless. Now she did look at him. Her eyes held something ancient, something that makes blood run cold. "They just taught us where they live." For the first time since meeting humans, felt something he'd never experienced in battle. Concern not for himself, not for his soldiers, for the enemy. Because he was beginning to understand something terrifying about humanity. They didn't just fight when attacked. They remembered. They carried grudges. They would chase their enemies to the end of the galaxy if needed. And they had just been given a reason to remember the swarm. "We leave in 6 hours, announced. "Get your gear, say your goodbyes, this is going to be bad." The humans filed out, quiet, purposeful, no jokes this time, no laughter. Stood in the empty command center, watching the frozen image of Tertian on the screen. "They're going to die, you know," or said, "all of them." "Maybe," replied, "but I don't think the swarm understands what they've just awakened." Words echoed in his mind, "We don't quit, ever." Combined with what he was seeing now, humans who didn't just fight out of fear or duty, they fought with purpose, with memory, with rage that burned cold and patient. Had studied dozens of species, fought beside hundreds of warriors. But he'd never seen anything like this. And deep in his chest, in that place he was still learning to understand, felt something new. He felt afraid. Not of dying, not of the battle to come. He was afraid of what humans became when you gave them a reason to never forget your name. The assault ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Tertian system. 50,000 swarm warriors were entrenched below. The coalition strike force had 800 soldiers. The odds were suicide. Nobody cared. Watch the humans make final preparations. They were different now. During the 2-day journey, something had changed in them. The jokes stopped. The laughter died. They moved through the ship like ghosts, checking weapons, writing letters, saying quiet goodbyes. Private sat in the corner singing. It was an old Earth War song, soft and sad, about soldiers who never came home. Others joined in, one by one, until the entire human unit was singing. It made scales prickle. They're preparing for death, or observed. The tactical officer had volunteered for the mission despite calling it suicide. This is their funeral song. "No," said quietly. The medic was packing medical supplies, even though everyone knew there wouldn't be much healing to do today. "It's a promise." A promise. That will be remembered. That what we do here matters. That's what humans need before battle. Not certainty we'll win, just certainty that we'll be remembered. The dropships launched. They hit Tertian's atmosphere like falling stars. Anti-air fire filled the sky. 2 coalition ships exploded before reaching the ground, but the rest made it. The landing site was 3 kilometers from the swarm facility where the executions happened. Between them and their target, an army. "All units advance," his voice was calm over the comm. "Remember why we're here." The coalition forces moved forward. Soldiers took point, their plasma rifles cutting through the first wave of swarm warriors. They fought with their usual efficiency. Perfect. Mechanical. But behind them, the humans fought differently. Watched through his tactical display. Private was supposed to stay back with her injured arm. Instead, she was at the front line, firing with mechanical precision. No fear on her face now, just cold focus. Corporal Sara moved through swarm warriors like water. Every shot was a kill. Every movement was efficient. She wasn't fighting scared anymore. She was hunting. "Commander, the humans are pushing too far forward," or warned. "They're going to get cut off." Saw it too. The human squads were advancing faster than planned, deeper into enemy territory. They weren't following the tactical plan. "All human units hold position," ordered. "Negative," responded. "We're pushing through." "Captain, you'll be surrounded." "Good, more targets." Felt that cold feeling again. This wasn't tactics, this was something else. The battle became chaos. Swarm warriors poured from every building, every tunnel. They attacked in waves and the coalition forces cut them down, but the humans didn't stop advancing. Sergeant Jin, still recovering from losing his leg, was strapped into a mobile support frame. He shouldn't have been in combat at all. But there he was, using heavy weapons to clear rooms. His face was blank, focused. When he killed swarm warriors, there was no emotion, just efficiency. "This isn't fighting," one of the soldiers said over the comm. "This is extermination." He was right. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were actively hunting. When swarm warriors tried to retreat, the humans chased them. When the swarm tried to regroup, the humans broke their formations. When the swarm tried to hide, the humans found them. Lieutenant led a squad through the facility's underground tunnels, followed, his rifle ready. The tunnels were dark, narrow, perfect ambush territory. But the humans didn't slow down. They moved through the darkness like they were born to it, used hand signals. Her squad responded instantly. When swarm warriors attacked from side passages, the humans didn't panic. They simply turned and fired. No fear, no hesitation. "How many?" whispered. "Contact 6 warriors 10 meters," someone responded. "Take them." The squad moved as one, silent, deadly. The swarm warriors died before they could alert others. They found the execution chamber deep underground. The walls were covered in blood. Coalition prisoners had died here, slowly, painfully. Stood in the center of the room. She was very still, very quiet. Lieutenant approached carefully. 200 people, she whispered. "They killed 200 people here. Broadcast it, made us watch." "Yes." Turned to look at him. Her eyes were empty. "They wanted to scare us." "Yes." "They made a mistake." The swarm facility had a central command chamber. Intelligence said the swarm commander coordinated from there. The humans headed straight for it. Swarm warriors tried to block the path. They died. The swarm set up defensive positions. The humans went around them. The swarm tried to collapse tunnels. The humans dug through. Nothing stopped them. Fought alongside Captain in the final push to the command chamber. A swarm warrior attacked from above. His rifle jammed. He was going to die. Shot the warrior mid-leap. Didn't even look at, just kept moving forward. "Thank you," said. "We're not done yet." They breached the command chamber. The swarm commander was there, a massive creature, twice the size of normal warriors. Its mind connected to every swarm creature in the system. It tried to call reinforcements, shot out the communication arrays. It tried to escape, blocked the exit. It tried to fight. 20 human soldiers opened fire at once. When the commander walked forward, she stood over it. The creature was still alive, its connection to the hive mind fading. "Can it understand me?" asked. "Through the hive mind, yes," said. "Every swarm creature in the galaxy will hear your words." Knelt down next to the dying commander. She leaned in close. When she spoke, her voice was soft, gentle, like she was telling a secret. "We'll find every last one of you." Then she stood and fired once. The swarm commander died. With it, the connection to 50,000 warriors went dead. They collapsed across the facility. The hive mind broke. The battle was over. Coalition forces secured the facility. The casualties were counted. 200 soldiers died in the assault. More were wounded. By any military standard, it was a disaster. But the humans didn't look defeated. Found Corporal Sora sitting against a wall, exhausted. Her armor was covered in blood. Not all of it was swarm blood. "Are you injured?" he asked. "Probably. Doesn't matter right now. We lost 200 soldiers. The prisoners were already dead. We gained nothing." Sora looked at him with tired eyes. "We gained something, Commander. We made sure they remember." "Remember what?" "That when you hurt our people, we come for you, all of you. We don't care about the odds. We don't care about the cost. We just come, and we don't stop until you're gone." Private walked past, still singing that same war song. Others joined in again. It echoed through the blood-stained facility. Finally understood what he was seeing. For the war was tactical, efficient. They fought to win objectives. When the cost became too high, they retreated. They calculated. They survived. Humans were different. They didn't just fight for objectives. They fought for memory, for message, for making sure their enemies understood that some actions had consequences that never ended. The swarm had tried to scare humanity, had broadcast executions to break their spirit, to make them hesitate. Instead, they had taught humanity where to find them. Commander approached. He looked exhausted, older. "We need to talk." "Yes. I want you to understand something. What happened here today, this was restraint. Blinked restraint. We found the people who killed our prisoners. We stopped them. That's justice. That's controlled." His eyes were hard. "But if they push us further, if they make this personal for every human instead of just a few, they'll learn what humanity really is." "What do you mean?" "I mean that humans have killed billions of each other throughout our history. We've mastered every form of death. We've weaponized disease, split atoms, created machines that can destroy entire planets, and we've been very, very good at pretending we're civilized." Gestured at the facility. "This was a military operation. But humans remember, Commander. If the swarm keeps pushing, eventually this stops being military." "Then what does it become?" "Personal, and when humans take something personally," trailed off. "Let's just say the swarm should be grateful we're still following rules of war." Stood among the human soldiers. They were singing, mourning their dead, but they weren't defeated. They looked ready to do it all again if needed. For the first time, truly understood what he was fighting alongside. Humans weren't just brave. They were something deeper, something older. They were the species that survived by never giving up, by pursuing enemies until there was nothing left, by turning every setback into motivation to keep going. They were persistence predators, and they had just locked onto the swarm. Felt fear. Real fear. Not for himself, for the swarm. Because humanity had just decided to remember their name. 6 months after Tertian, the Coalition found the swarm. Stood in the war room looking at the massive planet on the display. Every intelligence report said the same thing. The swarm had concentrated their remaining forces there. Millions of warriors, all connected to one central hive mind. The final battle. Casualty estimates, General and asked. The tactical computer ran the numbers. 90% losses expected, maybe higher. The room went silent. 90% meant almost everyone would die. The soldiers looked at each other. They were brave. They understood duty, but 90%. When do we attack? Captain asked. Every head turned to look at him. He stood with Lieutenant Corporal Sara and what remained of Tal and company. They had fought in 8 major battles in 6 months. They should have been rotated out, given rest, given time to recover. They refused to leave. Captain, In said carefully, perhaps your unit should sit this one out. You've done more than enough. No, sir, we finished this. The casualty rate. We know the numbers, stepped forward. We've always known the numbers, we're going anyway. Studied them. 6 months of constant warfare had changed the humans. They were thinner, harder. Private had scars across her face. Sergeant Jin had a mechanical leg. Private's hands shook when he thought no one was looking. But they were still here. I don't understand your species, said. You know this will likely kill you. You've already done more than anyone could ask. Why keep fighting? Smiled, it didn't reach his eyes. Because someone has to. Because if we stop now, everything we've done means nothing. Because, he paused, because humans don't know how to quit. It's a flaw, probably, but it's our flaw. The battle plan was simple because it had to be. They would assault with everything they had, every ship, every soldier. Either the swarm died or they did. The night before the battle found the humans gathered around a fire. They had built it in one of the ship's cargo bays, against regulations, but no one stopped them. They were telling stories. Remember when Jin lost his leg, was saying, and he kept shooting. I thought he'd lost his mind. I had, Jin laughed. I'll do that to you, but I figured if I was dying anyway, might as well take some of them with me. You're too stubborn to die, Sora said. Damn right. They laughed, actually laughed. The day before a battle that would kill most of them, they were laughing. Sat down near them, made room. Tell me, said, how can you laugh right now? Poked at the fire with a stick. Because we've already died 1,000 times in our heads, Commander. We've imagined every way this goes wrong, every horrible possibility. That's what fear does. It makes you think, makes you prepare. And that helps. It means we've already accepted the worst, said quietly. The young soldier who had been terrified at bridge was different now, older. When you've already died in your mind, the actual dying becomes just another thing to do. That's dark, observed. That's humanity, said. The medic had survived every battle. He was preparing for one more. We live in the shadow of our own mortality every single day. Every human knows they're going to die eventually. So when we go into battle, we're not learning about death for the first time. We've been thinking about it our whole lives. Stood up. I want to tell you all something. What we're doing tomorrow, it's going to be hell. Some of us won't come back. Maybe none of us will, but I need you to know. His voice cracked slightly. I need you to know that serving with you has been the honor of my life. Whatever happens tomorrow, we did it together. The humans stood. One by one, they hugged each other, said quiet words. Some cried, others smiled. They were saying goodbye. But they were also saying they'd see each other on the other side. Felt his chest tighten. He had fought beside these people for 6 months, had watched them bleed, had seen them refuse to break, had learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was fighting despite fear. Whatever happens tomorrow, said, it has been an honor to fight beside humanity. Extended his hand, took it. The honor was ours, Commander. The assault began at dawn. 1,000 coalition ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel around the swarm. Millions of swarm fighters poured up to meet them. The space battle was chaos. Ships exploded. Soldiers died. The swarm fought like they always did, with endless numbers and no fear of death. But the coalition fought with something else. They fought with purpose. Dropships punched through to the surface, led an assault force toward the central hive. Beside him, humans fought like machines. No fear now, just cold, brutal efficiency. The swarm threw everything at them, wave after wave of warriors, but the coalition pushed forward. Watched Private take a hit that should have killed her. She kept fighting. Watched Sergeant Jin's mechanical leg get blown off. He switched to a support frame and kept fighting. Watched Corporal Sara get surrounded by 10 swarm warriors. She killed them all. Watched Private singing that war song while firing his weapon. They were dying slowly, surely, but they weren't stopping. Commander's voice crackled over the comm. We found a way into the hive's core mind. How? The hive mind is biological. It's a network. We can infiltrate it, corrupt it from inside. That would require someone too. I know someone has to be the carrier. They'll die, slowly, painfully, but it'll bring down the whole network. Silence on the comm. Then I'll do it. It was. Private No started. I'm already hit bad, Captain. I've got maybe an hour left anyway. Might as well make it count. Thanks. Make sure they remember us, sir. That's all I ask. Make sure people know we were here. Reached position. She was covered in blood, dying, but she was smiling. Take care of them, she told. My squad. They're idiots, but they're good people. I will. Good. She activated the infiltration device. It bonded to her nervous system. She screamed, but she didn't stop it. Tell my mom. Tell her I wasn't scared at the end. Lie if you have to. I won't have to lie, said. You're the bravest person I've ever met. Laughed through her pain. Nah, I'm terrified. I'm just doing it anyway. She walked toward the hive core. Every step was agony. The device was eating her alive from the inside, but she didn't stop. When she reached the core, she placed her hand on it. For everyone who died, she whispered. For everyone who couldn't fight, for everyone who's still fighting, this is for you. The corruption spread like fire through the hive mind. Millions of swarm warriors felt it. Their connection broke. They collapsed, died. The entire network crashed. Died with them. But she saved everyone else. The battle lasted another hour. But without the hive mind, the swarm was just individual creatures, confused, leaderless. The coalition forces hunted them down systematically. When the last swarm warrior fell, silence spread across the battlefield. They had won. But the cost stood among the survivors. 10,000 humans had joined the final assault. Only 3,000 remained. They had lost 60%. Other species had similar casualties. Captain sat on a piece of rubble, his head in his hands. Stood beside him, one arm gone but still standing. We did it, someone said. Yeah, replied quietly, we did. But there was no celebration, just exhaustion, loss, the weight of survival. Found Corporal Sara, helping pull wounded soldiers from the rubble. Why are you still working? He asked. You should rest. There's people who need help. I'll rest when they're safe. That was humanity. Even after winning, even after losing so much, they kept going. 3 days later stood at the memorial service. The coalition had erected a monument on the swarm. Names of the fallen were carved into black stone. Thousands of names. Lieutenant, who had survived with extensive injuries, was giving a speech. We are the species that looked into the void and decided we didn't like what we saw, so we changed it. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. But we're the ones who refuse to quit, who refuse to let fear stop us, who refuse to let evil win just because the odds are bad. She paused, looking at the names. Private asked us to remember, so we will. We'll remember every person who died, every person who fought, every person who was scared but did it anyway. That's what humanity is, not fearlessness, but courage despite fear, action despite terror, hope despite darkness. We won this war not because we weren't afraid, but because we were afraid and fought anyway. That's our gift to the galaxy. The knowledge that fear doesn't have to stop you, that being scared is okay. That courage isn't the absence of fear, it's fighting despite it. Stood beside Captain, the human looked older, tired but alive. I understand now, said. Understand what? Why your species frightens me. You're not scary because you're strong. You're scary because you won't stop, ever, even when you should, even when it's logical to quit, you just keep going. Smiled sadly. Yeah, it's a hell of a curse sometimes. But it saved the galaxy. This time, next time, who knows? But we'll be there. Humanity doesn't really know how to do anything else. Looked at the monument, at all those names, at the humans standing there, mourning their dead but still standing. He had learned true fear in this war, not the fear of dying. The still didn't feel that. He learned fear by watching humans, fear by seeing what they became when pushed, fear by understanding that humanity was the one species in the galaxy that would chase you to the end of everything, that would take impossible losses and keep fighting, that would sacrifice themselves over and over because they believed some things mattered more than survival. He learned fear by realizing that the scariest thing in the universe wasn't a monster or a weapon. It was a species that understood fear intimately and did terrifying things despite it. Commander looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there were other threats, other wars, other battles. And somewhere out there, humanity was already preparing. Because that's what they did. They kept going. Always.